everyone. Welcome to an enlightening edition of ARG Presents. I'm your good pal, your good buddy, Amigo Aaron, joined by a man who's rotten to the core. I give you that bad apple, the Brent.
There we go. Now I'm evil.
Look at you. Look like a doofus. You look like the guy who used to fill up the gas tanks on like Mayberry.
You mean the Andy Griffith show?
That's right, in Mayberry. You know, the dumb doofus type? That's you. Doofus. So, speaking of doofuses, last week, in case you were wondering, hey, where's ARG? We're still around. But since a certain man had drug references in his game, ARG...
Don't say it, we'll get destroyed.
On YouTube was pulled from all of its subscribers, not to be seen. So we're hoping that won't happen again. We're going to keep the drug references to a minimum, Brent. So I hope the game you picked this week doesn't have a lot of bad stuff in it.
No drugs this week.
Oh,
just XENOCIDE.
Oh, good Lord. So, with that out of the way, we believe it or not, we spun the wheel. I said we made the deal. It's an exciting deal. And this week we're going to be looking at BAM, the Apple IIGS, Brent.
What does the GS and GS stand for?
It's
Aaron?
good stuff. That's what it means for. That's the Apple IIGS, Brent. Now listen.
Before the Apple IIGS, it was just crap.
Yeah. Now I know you're an Apple guy. You love you some Apple, don't you? How many Apples and Macs have you had?
Owned?
Yeah.
Me personally?
Yeah.
A big old Zorro.
Yeah, me either. But actually,
Wait,
I have the one. I got
all
one.
right.
All right, but that
I've got that little Mac statue.
That's not good enough.
What? No, that thing's awesome.
You know, I'm not the biggest fan of the old Apple, but that much said, I put my unfounded biases aside and took a look, a good wholesome look here at the Apple IIGS because I found it quite interesting actually. The Brent, I didn't know anything about this except I'd heard this was a very popular machine. So picture the Apple II. This is a machine that debuted in the late 70s, around 1977. The original Apple II came out. The crazy popular Apple II.
Okay.
And over the years, Apple would augment the Apple II with the Apple II, Apple IIc, the Apple IIe, you know, and these machines were all improvements. Because if you think about the original Apple II was pretty rudimentary, and you had to do a bunch of crazy stuff to get to work. But it was a capable machine. And so, eventually, they decided, hey, the people have spoken. We need something to move the Apple II series along. Well,
we need two letters, not just that one we've been at.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the Apple IIGS is it's quite a leap from the original Apple, because basically what you've got here is a whole new machine that's still, for the most part, backwardly capable of running the Apple II software. Why did they make this machine? Well, it's a simple reason.
Money.
Well, they felt like they were getting left behind because of the Amiga 1000, the Atari ST line had debuted. And Apple thought, okay, what are we going to do here? So they really had two paths to go down. And the people were clamoring for some sort of new Apple II, which is what they gave them. But Apple saw the writing on the wall, and they're like, listen, we're not going to keep fooling around with the Apple II forever. We've got to move it.
There's only so many letters.
Right? And so Apple had also had the Macintosh. The Macintosh was the monochrome machine that was also gaining in popularity at the time. So with all that said, they did, in fact, release the Apple II. The Apple II was pretty strong out of the gate. Apple IIGS. It had a 8 megahertz 65C 816. It had a built-in super drive. It had 2 megs on the board, and it had a hard drive. Not bad.
Yeah.
Right. It was capable of a lot of graphics modes, like higher color graphics modes, But one thing it was like I said, you could put your old Apple II stuff in it. And the Apple ran into the problem that the PC ran into. You've got decades, or you've got over a decade of software that you don't want to sort of toss on in the pile.
Right.
You know, and
Shazam.
so, yeah, there you go. And so what do they have to do? They try to make everybody happy. The thing was more expandable than the majority of Apples. It had serial ports in the back. It had expansion slots. It had 7 expansion slots on it. It had composite RGB outs. It had a headphone jack. Hey, that's something. I'm just saying, these are things you didn't always see that were integrated in the machine.
Sure.
We laugh now, but a lot of these sorts of things weren't integrated on the original Apples, or really any machine. And so this was stuck in there to fill a gap. This is what a lot of people consider the link in the chain between the Apple II series and the Mac series. Now, with that said,
I can see that.
Can you play Mac stuff on this? No.
Oh no.
No, you cannot. No. But it does play its stuff plus the Apple stuff. And I will say, after looking through a lot of games to try to pick out something to play,
yeah,
I was pretty impressed. Listen, they had games that were right in the same wheelhouse as the computers they were shooting for, the Amiga or the Atari. Well,
I'll agree.
Now, when I'll give you an example. They did a great version of Ryston. I would have almost picked it. Well, I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it. And it looks great, but the problem is it doesn't scroll well. And so and that kind of. But I mean, this is sort of what you're talking about here. This is a capable machine within reason. It's not, but it's not going to displace in terms of gaming. It's not going to displace the Atari or the Amiga in that area. But I did see I was surprised at the amount of stuff that got ported over to it. I was surprised with the sheer amount of games. I would see lists of 50 or 100 games for the GS. And I was surprised because quite a few of these look pretty good.
Yeah. Now here's the thing.
Yeah.
And I think you were in the same boat. Back in the day, I mean, when you're talking Amiga, early DOS, that era, this era, Apple was never seen as the gaming platform, right?
Yeah, they've never been seen as that.
Amiga's got kind of games and graphics and sound, and of course your DOS evolved into much bigger things, but it always was like the secondary gaming machine when it first came out. And when it came to Mac, it was like, no, Mac doesn't have any games. And I remember thinking that for a long time. And I had buddies who owned Macs because their parents used them for work.
Yeah.
So I actually have Mac experience from back in that time period.
Oh, really? Okay.
Now they never had a GS, but they had an Apple II. And when you play games on it, it always felt a little behind the times, but okay.
Yeah.
When I started looking at this GS stuff,
yeah,
I was stunned at how good it looked and ran.
Yeah, it was. I have to say, I'm right there with you on that. I wasn't expecting something like this, and what compounds the surprise to me is, and we talked about this quite a bit this week, the emulation scene. And the forums and the interest around the 2GS to me seems practically zero.
Well,
there's hardly anyone. We had to figure it out, brother. We had a couple people helping us, but I mean, it was like there's no. I don't know. What did you emulated this differently than I did? What did you use to emulate?
I'll have to look up the actual name, but while I'm looking that up, here's the thing. I think when you're from the PC side of things, finding Mac or Apple emulation is more difficult than if we were on the Apple side of the pond or even the Linux side of the pond. I saw a lot more personal emulators that ran off of Macintosh to do these old systems than I found on DOS-based systems or Windows-based systems. I used XGS/32.
Okay.
It's an emulator from 2000, so over 2 decades ago.
I saw that one. I thought it's so old, I'm not going to bother with it.
No, that was the way to go. And I'll have to say, I was really disappointed that no one has picked up this mantle and made a modern, stable, good emulator for the GS. Because I would like to go back and play some of these games. Right now, it's such a hassle to get into this world if you're on the PC side of things. And the Mac side of things might be the exact same way. I just know I saw more emulation for the Mac stuff. These games are being lost to time because the Apple side of things, the Apple people, the Apple emulator crowd doesn't seem to want to support some of this older hardware, and it's heartbreaking.
It's odd.
It's heartbreaking.
Well,
because I think there's a lot of good stuff here.
I mean, if you could think about it, and I know Boat had always told me, because Boat knows a little bit more about Apple. He was an Apple guy. He told me that the GS was a pretty popular machine, and up until this show, I wasn't 100% sure why, but now I understand. It's like the top of the heap for Apple II. Like this is the top of the heap. And so if you're into the Apple II stuff, this is the 1200 a nice step up for that.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to emulate it like us, like I ended up using MES, or MAME, depending on how you have it branched out. And in some ways, it's like emulating the Amiga. You've got there's different versions of the BIOS or the ROM boot up software, and they make radical differences in the game's ability to play. There's 1, there's 3. There's some other stuff. Then you've got to understand how the drives work in MAME. MAME has the drive set up, and this is something else about the Apple IIGS that's sort of interesting. I mean, if you think about it, the Apple II, all the software for the Apple II was on 5.25 inch floppy drives,
right?
And the GS came with 3.5 inch drives. So it's were the style of the time.
Right.
No one was shipping with 5.25, but they did sell 5.25 inch drives you could hook into the Apple IIGS. And so when you're emulating this in MAME sets up sets up 4 drives, and the first 2 they set up as 5.25. Well, you can't boot GS software off those. So it's little things like that you've got to sort of figure out what you're doing to get into the game. But once we did, I played several games I really enjoyed. I thought they were a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to maybe somewhere down the road trying some more of them out.
Well, and again, I think that the community, and I didn't see a whole lot. Now, granted, I only looked at this for about a week. I didn't see a whole lot of chatter out there for people even wanting this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of the games you're going to be able to play on like systems that are going to run them better.
Well, I mean, there is some crossover. I look specifically for exclusive games.
That's what I did.
And there's not a ton.
Yeah, we both played games. I think both.
No, mine was not an exclusive.
Yeah, well, yours ended up, but I mean,
well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, it's. I really want to shout out the people who do things for the GS community. I don't think there's a whole lot of people out there, but I'd love to see it get larger. I'd love to see better emulation for this system.
Yeah, and I want to say a special thanks to Top Retro Games channel. Check him out. He does a ton of GS stuff. He's got videos on how to set up emulators. He provided the videos we're using now because I never can get good captures out of MAME, so I use his stuff. And so he's got a real informative channel if you're going down a rabbit hole for GS.
Absolutely.
With all that said, we did pick 2 games this week to look into, and we both tried to go down. I don't think we made any rules about it, but we both ended up picking up games that I don't really, that at least I know mine didn't release for any of the system, and yours had a limited release. Let's get into what you picked this week, Brent. I'll let you start the show. What do you got?
I went for XENOCIDE.
All right.
And the whole reason, I started looking for exclusives, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of got to the end of that path, and I said, man, none of these really tickle my fancy. And I wanted to play a game called Crocker something. It was something about a bird, right? Could not find it. And it was from Pangea Software.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? This Pangea Software, and I'm going to get into them in a second, incredibly interesting company, whatever you want to say. And I said, I'm going to pick one of their games. So I picked one of their early games, XENOCIDE. But before we get into that, I want to talk about Pangea Software. Aaron, have you ever heard of Pangea Software?
Just from your game. That's the only time I've heard of them.
They were founded in '87, and they started on the very beginning. They actually had some other things on the Apple II, but the Apple IIGS was their first commercially released game. And they're a developer, and they're a developing company of one. Okay, they will contract they will contract people in, but the company themselves, one person, and that is Brian Greenstone.
Yeah.
You can tell Brian is, first of all, very proud of his work, and he has some documentary style videos out there about his company that he did about a decade ago. And watching this and learning about his company was the most enjoyable part of my week this week.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of fun going through his adventures, and I'm not going to get into all of his stories. You can check out his, if you just do a search for Pangea Software, you can hear how he came up with the name, the misspelled name, I might add, and how he did some of the back end of the Mac life, some of the older stuff. But I want to talk about his experiences with XENOCIDE. This was a passion project in his youth. I'm talking young, like teens. And he had been dabbling with software beforehand, but he was, in high school, had a girlfriend, all that stuff going on. You know how it is, life. And him and his girlfriend broke up. And he said, you know what? Screw this noise. It's mid-December. I don't got anything else to do. I'm going to write a game. And he did. He started writing XENOCIDE. And he had a buddy doing art for him. And he said, this is going to be big. And then their apartment got broken into. And they stole his buddy's computers and televisions and VCRs, because that was the big thing back in the day, and all this stuff.
Probably the ex-girlfriend.
And they said, listen, if this game, his prototype he had on disc, and his computer got stolen, that'd been it. The company would have been dead right on the spot because he had no backups. And he said he learned a valuable lesson from that. And he started keeping backups at that time at his parents' house. So it's little obstacles like that they've overcome for years and years and years, and they're still active. They're still active today. They do iPhone games now. No, that's nothing to cringe at. In fact, they did one of the first iPhone games of all time, sold it for $10 on the store, on the App Store, and he has a great bit on that where he's talking about they wanted to price it at $29 because that's what DS games and handheld games were going for. So he went, and Steve Jobs said, listen, man, that's too much. We're thinking more like, $10, $15 range. So they're like, okay, well, we're gonna back it back. We're gonna sell it for $10. That's what it hit the store at. And it sold really well because it was one of the first ones. It was also the first physics-based puzzle games. They actually coined that phrase. So it got on the App Store, it sold really well, and then all these little dumb apps started coming out, right? All these 99-cent apps, and it pushed the price down and down and down until he was selling it for $5. Very interesting part of this, though, that is the model that all software on phones are based off of now. His price getting driven down. If those little crap things would have never made it to the App Store, apps on the phone would still be $10, $15 because that's what they would have sold at. So Pangea Software has this huge part of the market so widespread for decades, and almost nobody knows who they are because they were only an Apple-based software company. So let's talk a little bit about XENOCIDE and what the game was. Released in '87, this was a story where you play a space marine pilot guy, and you are tasked to go and destroy these 3 moons of aliens before they come and conquer your planet. And the only way apparently you can do that is to explode the entire moon, which I would think would have far greater...
That's what you do. Take out the whole moon. It's a lot easier that way.
I would think that'd have far greater issues with your planet, but
Right.
What do I know? This game is played over 4 game types. Well, 3 game types, really. When the game first starts out, you are on the lunar surface driving to your destination. And it has like a little built-in path, but you don't have to stick to it. And it's a first person. You're inside the vehicle. So things are hitting the glass. You're running into space bugs. And it's squishing on your windshield. And if you hit too many rocks, your windshield starts to crack, and eventually it'll blow open, and you die, and you lose a life. And the whole point of this level is to collect canisters. They're just scattered throughout the world. And it's a straight path. If you just drive down the road, it's a straight path. But, of course, the path is winding left and right and all that good jazz. But the canisters you pick up allow you to store more ammo and rockets for the second stage of the game. So, first, driving, part 1 of the game. Then the game completely shifts. Now you're in a scrolling side perspective where you're a little space guy. You've got your jetpack, you're flying around, you've got guns, and you've got bombs. And the whole point of this section of the game is to collect the bombs you're going to use to destroy the planet, or the moon, sorry.
I like how they're stored inside the moon.
That's right. That's the way you do it. So you have full up, down, left, right control, plus you've got a button for your gun, a button for your bomb, and you can switch out to these special things. You can make your shield stronger, you can fly a little bit faster, you can shoot a little bit faster, and you choose one of those at the different oxygen fill-ups. Because in this world, or in this section of the game, you have to worry about the damage you're taking and your air supply. The enemies in this are they're kind of small. They're very small, ranging from one grid section up to about 4 moving around the screen, and they're all kind of just blobby shapes, and they're not very descript. But you've also got laser cannons on the walls, and you've got satellites or little laser beams that you have to destroy one end or the other to collapse the beam to move on. This is it's not a puzzle, right? Because it's not a puzzle, but there are sections where you have to figure out where you need to fly and where you need to shoot or where you need to drop a bomb to destroy the laser grid that's stopping your path so you can move forward. And there's checkpoints along the way that let you refill your air and your ammo and stuff.
And the checkpoints also, when you die, you go back there.
Correct. Well, that's a checkpoint, yeah. The really neat aspect of this stage is the explosion effects. You'll have a bunch of containers or maybe section of wall that set up that when you hit it, it chain explodes across everything else. It's a really neat effect.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite part of this. I wish there was more of it. There is a ton of it.
Yeah.
And it's used to clear out usually pathways that you need to go down. Controls in this are actually pretty tight. It's a lot better than the car section. The car section, the analog is tough. It's tough. Did you have a problem with that?
I had control problems in both games. I'm sure they were emulator-based.
Okay.
I know one thing. At the beginning of this game, there's a thing that lets you set your joystick up. Never do that.
Oh, I had fairly good luck
with it. If I did that, my joystick wouldn't work.
Because this is based off analog controls.
Yeah.
So it was something that I was happy when I got to the jetpack station part of the game. Because while the driving section was fun, it was neat, it was interesting, it was also pretty annoying. I mean, just the control aspect of it.
Yeah.
So when you get all the bombs, then you go into the water section of the game. And it's just like the jetpack station, except now you constantly are pulled down. So you're kind of fighting the pressure of the water wanting to push you down. It's the same kind of section, though. You just fly around. You're collecting keys this time to access the main alien base. Same kind of deal. You get your guns, you get your bombs, you've got your same enemy types. Well, they're different, but it's the same, either 1 square or usually no bigger than 4 squares or maybe 8 squares. As you make your way through this, and this is a long section, this part is far more puzzly, but you can get through it. Then you go to the final section of the game, and that is a top-down, a la Gauntlet, for lack of a better example, where you are running around this alien base, planting bombs on different sections. When you have your 5 bombs that you collect in the first stage. You get your keys from the second stage to get in. Now you're planting the bombs to blow up this facility.
This part sort of reminded me of Awesome on the Amiga. You know, it's a multi-stage game like this, and there's a section where you have a top-down view like this.
Yeah, okay.
Where you run around.
And you still got your gun. You still have your grenades, your missiles. You still have all the optional things that you can equip, like your bigger shield. And then you also have some extra weapons and stuff in this, like landmines that wouldn't make any sense on any of the other levels. So you plant all your bombs in the specific locations, and then you hit the teleporter, and you teleport out. And when you do that, the moon explodes, and you travel to the next moon. 3 moons into the game. Do not think this game is short. This thing is a beast. It is super long. All the levels are incredibly long, a little mazy, so you can get lost. But I'll have to say, Aaron, I kind of like this game a lot.
Did you actually blow up a planet when you did?
Oh, no. I did not get that far. I did get to all the sections of the game, and to even do that, I had to cheat. I had to do infinite lives.
Yeah.
Now, there are infinite energy bugs or energy codes out there. I did not use those because I thought that was taking it a little too far. I wanted to experience the game without being a complete cheat and without having any kind of like holdback. But the game is hard. It is very difficult. And having only a week to get as far as I could with it, I wanted to see all the parts of the game, so I did cheat.
I had a little trouble getting. I had trouble getting both these to work, but I had more trouble with this one. But once I got it working, of course you can't play the game for that. I was very impressed with this game. It's got the sound is actually cool.
Some of it, yeah.
Like when you hit the bugs, it makes this noise. It's like a splat noise. When you hit the canister, it's like burn.
Yeah,
sounds like you're whacking someone and one must fall.
They definitely had those little digital clips.
Yeah. The section where you're flying underground, it sort of had a Hero vibe to it.
Sure.
It's like if Hero and Turrican had a son. Is this what it reminded me of? When you're down here, I'm like you. At first I played this straight up. I still managed to get here. I managed to get to the underground part, but not the water part.
Yeah.
And then I did finally. I tapped out the water part. I couldn't get past the water. But I like it. I like the fact that you use the charge up stations as checkpoints. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
The explosions you talked about, they are awesome. Where the things blow up and it's like kinetic chain reaction.
Yes.
It's awesome looking.
Absolutely.
And I would have enjoyed this again. Emulating this was for the way I emulated it. The controls didn't feel great to me. I tried to make them the best I could, but something tells me with a proper analog stick, like this would actually be a treat to play. In fact, this game, this is one of the games. Well, actually, both are games, but more this one. Let me know. It's like, okay, this machine is a pretty capable machine. Yeah. We're not playing with we're not going to be playing Apple II games. We're going to be playing. These are a step. They're a step up.
They're absolutely a step up.
And I've played stuff on the Mac. A lot of the old Macs have been in black and white. I mean, this is colorful. This would not be out of place on any of the 16-bit machines.
I agree.
You could easily put this, and this would have been well received. I mean, frankly, if you want my opinion on it, you've got yourself a winner here. I thought it was a lot of fun. That water level was long. I mean, I played it for a while. I never got off of it. I was just like,
and you have to keep finding the keys to advance and it's far more mazy than the bomb collecting level. But it's not. That part of it's not unfair. And really, the enemies are only sort of unfair. When you spawn in from a death, you can get hit immediately, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm gonna let it slide just because there's so much going on.
Yeah,
in this game.
it's not perfect, but I mean,
it's
got
not
a lot
perfect.
it's got a lot of nice touches.
Yeah,
the lava effects, the fire effects, like I said, I thought the sound was this reminds me of like an Amiga style game with PC, like we just started getting good sounds type sound.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna use samples and stuff, and then, that's what it reminded me of, like a baby's first sound effects kit. But it was still, I found it amusing. That stuff always amuses me. Like I said, I wish I could better say how the control was. I mean, how does control for you? You had a different system than I did to play on.
It did okay. The driving section for me was ultra sensitive. Like I could not use my thumb to do the analog. I had to actually hold it by the top.
That driving section is just tough in general. It was hard to avoid stuff.
It was the lowest.
And it was cool looking,
of the competent programming over the 4 sections that I played.
I thought it looked good though. The scrolling.
Oh, it did.
Smooth.
It looked incredible. Yeah.
This one's absolutely worth checking out.
Well,
I really enjoyed it.
And here's a few.
I was surprised.
A few other tidbits, right? This was developed by Pangea, but not produced by Pangea.
Yeah.
They actually had a different company doing their production. And Brian Greenwell learned a lot of stuff from this. Or I'm sorry, Greenstone. He first of all, he learned that he doesn't make nearly as much money if you're not working both sides of the pond. If you're just doing development, you're going to lose out on a lot of cash. He made roughly $5,000 from this game. Okay?
Yeah.
And this is in the late 80s. Good, not great.
Yeah.
And it was something that he did as a young child, so of course he took his money and bought a jet ski. So we talked a little bit earlier. You said that this was an exclusive to the Apple.
Yeah.
It wasn't, because the producers of the game, the publishers, I should say, took it and gave it to a DOS publisher and said, this game did really well on the Mac. Go make it. Pangea had no input at all. I had a cup of coffee with the DOS version.
Yeah.
It's the same game, right? The same level layout and all that stuff, and it's not nearly as frantic, but that doesn't make it better. I would say that I prefer the GS version. Maybe it's because I spent more time with it. If I played the DOS one more, maybe it would grow on me. But I think that the GS version is the way to play this game. And I do recommend everyone go out and check this out. I think this is an experience worth having, even if you only get to play it on the DOS. I don't think it's going to be as good. I think this is worth playing. Aaron, what do you think?
I agree, and this also for friends over in Europe that like that type of exploration style gameplay, like your Turricans and whatnot. This is a nice hybrid.
Yeah.
Because there is exploration elements, but ultimately, as you go through the exploration, it's leading you towards the end of the level.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it's almost like I'm not gonna say it's faux. It doesn't make you take the path, but you're gonna end up at the end of the level if you keep going the right way, which I like. That's good for me because I don't get lost. But I think this is if you're a fan of these sorts of games and you've got the ability to run this one, I think you give it a shot. I'm guessing when I ask this, I think I know the answer. But did you have any luck finding these for sale anywhere?
No, not. I didn't actually look to see what the price of this was going for modern day. I know back in the day, this was sold for $30.
Yeah.
In the 80s, that's pretty remarkable.
I looked at Apple IIGS stuff to see how the wins were, and there was some out there, but the prices really were all over the map, even amongst similar titles. And then a lot of titles just weren't represented at all.
Looks like new in box, not new, but in box. This will run you about $50.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Of course, then you got to have something to run it on.
Oh yeah.
That's the amazing thing. we didn't get any reviews on any games this week, did we?
No,
because no one can run.
I think the emulation killed a lot of people.
And I looked around for just magazine reviews, and I couldn't find. I mean, so did you find any?
I want to mention something about the magazine review. I'm glad that you reminded me on that. This was reviewed by several magazines, and several of them gave high praise to the game. But one outfit in particular, Computer Gaming World, was very harsh on the game.
Really?
And if you actually go and look at the review, you see why. A book named XENOCIDE was released around the same time as this
famous,
game.
Very popular book,
Has nothing to do with the game.
Right.
They're completely separate.
Yeah.
Well, the dude hated the book. And he kept referencing the book in the game review about how much he hated the book. And he kept on talking about the disgusting storyline and the how could they do that? How could they make a game about this? None of that's in the game. None of the book is in the game.
Oh, man.
So I don't know if this was another situation where the dude didn't play the game.
What is it with you finding these reviews? That's another one.
Yeah, but everyone who did play the game and gave reviews reviewed it quite high.
Yeah, I don't know how you could give this a bad score. I mean, I think it's too
either.
good a game for that. Well, good stuff. You got anything else?
I think I'll do it.
All right,
I think
man.
I'll do it. I really enjoyed this though.
I like that, man. I thought this was a winner. So, I wanted to go down a similar path. I wanted to find something that was unique to the system, but I'll be honest with you. I was watching some videos just to see what was available, and I found a game I wanted to cover and I didn't know what its status was. And it turns out it was a exclusive to the system, so I got lucky there. But I ended up picking a little something called Ancient Glory. Ancient Glory, Brent.
That's Glory from way back.
Yeah, that's an old school Glory. This game has sort of an interesting past. In its final version, it was developed by Westwood Associates and published by Big Red Computer Club, which is a great name. Big Red Computer Club.
Remember Big Red Racing?
Yeah, I know. I knew you were gonna say that. Big Red Computer Club didn't publish a ton, but they did publish some stuff on the GS, including the Lost Treasures of Infocom. I remember that package coming out where it had tons of Infocom games. Shanghai 2, which I also remember Shanghai.
All right.
Bard's Tale 2 and Mazer 2. Westwood, if you'll remember them, they were quite a successful outfit. They did the Command and Conquer stuff, Earth and Beyond, which I think Earth and Beyond pretty much took them out. They were responsible for that old school BattleTech game on the PC. So they were a pretty prolific publisher. They ultimately got bought, and then I think it was after Earth and Beyond. They got dissolved into another company. There's also credit here to an outfit called Logical Design Works. We actually they worked on this in some capacity. There's a checkered past here, which I'll get to. They worked on Street Rod 2, Realms of Impossibility, which one. Tunnels of Armageddon. So there's some pretty good pedigree behind the game. So as far as I could tell, because I never got a definitive story on this.
Okay.
Ancient Glory was being developed for the PC.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes
by
sense.
Westwood, which Westwood did a lot of PC stuff, and was being ported to the GS, the Apple IIGS.
Okay.
Something happened, and the and the PC version was never either completed and released, or just never released. And so the only version that ended up coming out was the port to the GS from the PC, a port of a game that wasn't released on the system it was ported from.
And that's crazy because this game screams DOS.
At
least to me.
Yeah, in some ways it does. But I thought that was odd. I tried to look into this a little bit, but there wasn't a whole lot to it. I think that's the story. I just think for whatever reason it never got released. And I think the fact that Logical Design's in the mix, I think someone went bankrupt along the way or something. One of these deals
normally happens that way.
It's cloudy. So, what is this game? Ancient Glory. Well, everyone knows about the Hercster, right? Hercules. This is the Herc's journey to his godhood. It's a side-scrolling game that takes its basis in ancient Greek mythology. Everybody likes Greek mythology.
Absolutely.
You got Zeus, you got Medusa, you got, you know what I'm saying, you got the Cyclops, you got all the characters you love, and they're running around Greece and doing their thing, and that's what this is.
Racing gnomes.
So no, they're not doing that, because that's no, who does that? So you play the part of Hercules as you run through the game to attempt to basically gain favor from these gods by doing their dirty work and basically amusing them. And this game, I will say, it tells you your place almost immediately, because even on the very first level of this game, you start off and you are just standing there, and you have to start walking toward the right. There's no explanation to what's going on. You're in Thebes. And if you just stand there for too long, a hand just appears from heaven and just points at the ground, and a monster comes out of it and attacks you.
It pours the water down.
And this is a running gag in this game. If you dally, presumably Zeus will just say, "I'm not interested enough in what you're doing. I'm come here to screw you." And occasionally, on a rare occasion, he will help you by giving you a health potion. But I've noticed that most of the time, he just screws you. Yeah. And this reminds me, if you ever saw, what was the movie? There was a movie where there was a big arena, and Zeus could just reach into the arena and do stuff.
Yeah, Clash of the Titans.
Clash of the Titans, that's right. And that's what it reminds me of. Just in case they would just screw with you.
100% was based off that flair, yes.
So this game is, I guess what you would call this is a left to right beat 'em up, where you walk Hercules across a path and fight whatever's in front of you. Now, I do like some of the elements of this game, because it doesn't just send you down. There's not a linear path. The gameplay that happens on the levels is linear, but the actual picking of the levels, you get to pick wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
But they guide you through scrolls. You'll get 2 scrolls on the first level as you walk from left to right, and they'll say, "Listen, you need to go consult the Oracle at Delphi to learn about what you're supposed to do." And then there's another scroll that says, "Okay, here's another mission. You can do this." And then you're set loose to go, but you get a map to go pretty much wherever you want, with a few exceptions. You can go anywhere you want on the map. It's a big map. It gives you tons and tons of places to go. And so once you complete the first level, you're on your own. They just give you this map, and you can listen to the scrolls or you can't. But the one thing that is made clear at Delphi is that Hercules has 17 days to complete the tasks at hand. If he doesn't complete them, he loses, and you lose the game. And every time you travel to one of these distant areas, it takes actual time, not real time, but in-game time.
It tells you how long the travel.
So, if you're going from Thebes to, say, Nemea, it may take Hercules 4 hours and 15 minutes to walk there. It may take 20 hours to walk to some of these places, and so that comes off the overall clock. It's an interesting way to do it.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. When you start with Hercules, you're unarmed, but eventually you'll pick up a club. At first, all you're doing is kicking scorpions, and it is sort of fun to watch Hercules just walk them and kick these scorpions. And because apparently the guy that worked on one of Yes's albums, he loves those big orchestra strikes. Yeah. Because every time you do anything, it goes, wow, wow, big orchestra strike every time. If you're kicking a bug, wow. If you're hitting a hydra, wow, over and over, no matter what weapon it is. So that's kind of goofy. So when you pick up your weapon, you'll see at the bottom of the screen's sort of split in half. The top of the screen's the action. The bottom of the screen is your strength, the time you've got left, and a grid of boxes that have outlines in them that can put various weapons and accoutrements in them.
Basically, inventory of things you're going to collect.
Right. It sort of tells you, hey, you can fill all this up if you're good enough. Which FYI wasn't. And so once you finish the very first task at Thebes, you can go anywhere you want. Some places you go, like Delphi, there's no combat at all. You just walk in, and the Oracle says, hey, here's where you should go, and here's what your mission is. Or if you go to Athens, you'll get they'll give you a bow, but there's no combat there. Some places you'll go, and I will use the Dodona River for example. You go there, and you are in on the side of the river, and you're walking left to right, and you're being attacked by creatures. Okay. Often in this game, you will fight lions.
Yep.
You will fight scorpions,
Ton.
lobsters.
Yep.
Right, and snakes.
Yep.
Bulls.
Yep.
Bulls are the worst, I'd say, of the bunch in terms of like just your run. Although I will say the snakes are annoying too, because Herc can use his weapons in different ways. When you have the club or the sword, you've got just a central strike, an upper strike, and a lower strike. Okay, and so you have to understand how these work, and of course, I understand about you use the. It would work better with analog. But it would. I mean, it's meant for analog.
It does okay with analog.
Yeah, my joystick was okay, not great, and it hampered me on this game as well, just like it did on your game. But on the snakes, on the stuff like the lobsters and the scorpions, you swing down. Okay, simple. But the snakes rise up and go down, and so you're ever trying to gauge where they're at. They're tough to fight, and the lions and the bulls, you just whack them upside the head.
Well, the thing you need to understand with this is your down strike clearly make to hit ground enemies.
Yeah.
No problem. Makes contact every time. Your forward strike, which you would think you'd use for like lions and bulls and stuff like that, sometimes just is too high. And it's real annoying.
I think it's all based on just how they were drawn and they hit the hitbox. You're going to need the upper strike to fight some of the bigger stuff, which we'll get to that in a second. But for the most part, you're fighting animals. Now, the animals in this game will run right at you, and they'll get up on you. And then you've got almost like a stalemate. They can sort of hit you, and you can't do squat them, so you sort of have to back up. And anytime you do that, they're going to get a free shot at you. So you don't want them to get up on top of you. Now, if you've just got a melee weapon like a club or a sword, it's a problem. If you've got something like a bow and arrow, which I don't know how much you use that.
You ran out of arrows so fast.
Well, I'll get to that, but you can get more arrows. But
I know, but
the arrows let you stay far away from stuff to shoot it. Obviously, I mentioned you've got tons of places to go. I sort of went through and tried. Well, let me tell you something. There's nothing on this game. I found the manual. The manual has nothing. It basically gives you the most basic. I mean, it's got nothing.
Yeah.
The support for this game, the fans talk about nothing. Facts, nothing. There's nothing. So I give to you now the most definitive information you ever hear about Ancient Glory for all the time. So again, you're going all over the area, and you can pick where you want to go, like I said, and different places, different stuff. For example, Pylos, which is a dock-based journey where you're on like the docks. All you do on here is fight crabs and nonstop, and scorpions, and at the end of it, you fight harpies, which is pretty. Did you get to that part with the flying harpies?
I didn't go there. No, I never went to that city.
On some of these levels, you fight mythical creatures at the end of the level. That's sort of like the end boss.
Yes,
and they're pretty cool looking, man. They're pretty neat looking, and they're well done. They've got their own unique sound effect often, which is cool. And so harpies at the end of that level. If you go to Stemopolis, I know, I'm trying. You go through scorpions and lions, but eventually you get the guys with spears, and you've got those. That's a tough level. It's real tough. Now, this is one of the levels that doesn't have an end boss. You go to the end of the level, and then there's just a couple scrolls and some health, and maybe some arrows. Yeah. That's it. So here's the thing about this game that I found particularly amusing. Let's say you don't give a crap, right? You can run through the level and not fight anything. Yes. And you get the old Black Burrow train on you. Like you get you could have 2 lions, a bull, and a bunch of scorpions and some spearmen chasing you through the forest as you skip merrily along, because Herc has a pretty amusing jump he can do.
Yes.
So you can pretty much just leap over most stuff.
That's what I did to all the bulls.
Now here's the thing. Here's the problem with that. Like I said, they just chase you, and so when you get to the end of the level, in this game, when you get to the end of the level, you just run off the end of the screen, you're gone.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're not fighting an end boss, you can get away with skipping the whole level, but you're gonna take damage along the way. So you got to hope that those potions bring you back enough to have made it worth your while. But there are a couple levels where you can run through them. I'm sure you did that.
Oh yes. You? Oh yes.
because fighting this stuff can get tough. There's a level here where you fight centaurs. This is the Nona River. The centaurs are cool looking, and when they die, it's really cool. They kind of kneel down, and their torso kind of topples over. Real neat. If you kill those guys, you get the sword. You get the spear from the spearman. You get the bow when you go to Athens. I never got any of the other weapons. That was all the weapons I got. Did you get any of the other ones?
Sword, spear, club.
Yeah,
you
club.
pick the club off the ground.
Yeah, the club. You get that one for free.
And your foot, you can just do an unarmed strike. That's from the very beginning of the game. Sometimes it actually still comes in useful. And the bow. No, that's all I got as well.
Now, there's a couple standout levels here I want to talk about. Mount Emetholeus, I believe, or Ermithonia, whatever it is. As you go through it, boulders come off the cliff. I could not dodge these boulders to save my life.
I don't think I went there.
You have to jump them. You can't not get hit by them. You have to either jump them or you just get hit. That's just the way it is. And they do tons of damage. At the end of that level is a giant four-armed man. He's huge. He's cool too. He's got,
Goro.
He's cooler. He's cooler than Goro. But he was neat. In Nemea, you fight tons and tons of lions, and at the end of the level is a huge lion you've got to fight. Yeah. And this lion will rear up on its back of legs and try to get you. He's tough. I just skipped past him to get the potions and stuff. He was too hard.
Yeah, but you have to defeat him to get the thing that Aphrodite wants you to get.
Yeah, but that's why I didn't get it. Now get this one. In the forests of Lima, okay? As soon as you start the level, you hear this unholy noise echoing through the woods. It's real creepy. I was like, what is that? And so you fight some crabs, and eventually you get to see what's making the noise. There's a Hydra at the end of this level with all the heads.
I don't think I saw
that. It's
going
either. Bananas. You got to go in there and start whacking that sucker. And as you're killing it, some of the heads are dying. I didn't kill him. He was really cool to see fight. But that's the way this game goes. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I did not do well. I managed to go through these levels with the use of save states and just gumption and time. It took me forever just to get this information, just because of the way the game works. I think if I fooled with my controls enough to where I can make this pretty good, I think this would be a fun game if you had the time to sink into it and had a proper GS. One thing you can do is when you've got all your weapons at the bottom is you can actually skip through them. You hit the W button. You
cycle
can skip
through the weapons.
You can skip through them. This game does have pull-down menu tasks, but they don't do much. You can turn the music on and off. You can turn the joystick on and off. And if you decide you want to play this without a joystick, you need a keypad. You use the keypad, or you have to reprogram your controls to use a keyboard keypad on this thing. I would say the graphics on this, I mean, in some areas the graphics are awesome in terms of the animals and stuff, and the backgrounds. I think they're pretty good. I mean, I don't. In some ways, they're more impressive than your game, and in some ways, not. It's the classic game where like a big chunk of the screen is covered. You've got literally less than half the screen in actual gameplay.
Right.
They really cheesed that part up, but someone took some time to draw all these creatures. I mean, they're really well done. There are also physical obstacles that aren't animals, like grates that fire shoot up, or
falling columns.
Apparently, this whole joint's falling apart.
It's not a good day to,
because there's everywhere you go, there's tons and tons of these columns fighting, or like I said, the boulders on the one level. So there's some of that stuff. I would call Hercules not the most nimble guy I've ever seen. He's a lumberer, so that's not going to do any favors. I never got the shoes. I don't know if they would make you move quicker. One of the things you can get are the winged
Hermes
shoes. Yeah, Hermes shoes. I don't know if they give you a better jump, because Herc can jump pretty well, but he's a stiff guy.
He is.
But I thought this kind of captured the feeling of ancient Greece. They did a good job with the theming of it and stuff. What did you think about this one?
First off, I'll be 100% honest.
Yeah.
I only put about an hour into this game. I played this game first and got it working first. Went to my game thinking I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to put some more time into it. It didn't happen. What I did was play my games for hours and hours and hours and never actually came back to this. So this is off an hour's worth of experience. So if I'm messing up something, that's why. This game looked good, sounded fine, controlled okay, but the control was the worst part.
And we don't know about that. We don't know.
Well, I felt my control setup was pretty spot on. I could make him do what I wanted to do. That wasn't the problem. My problem was that what he was doing wasn't impactful enough to get the job done. For an example, to my knowledge, there's no way to block. And because of that, there are certain fights where you go and you can step backwards, but like you said before, you turn around to do it, and you just get hit every time. So a lot of the game felt like I was going up, I was facing my enemy, I was doing my attacks, I would win, but maybe I would take a hit, right? And then I'd go, and you go a little bit farther, you find the next enemy, it's the same thing. And by the time you get anywhere in the game, because your health carries over in between stages, you can't get anywhere. The game was very restrictive in that manner. And like any kind of boss I went up against, no chance. Now, is there a strategy that will let me kill some of these bosses without having that kind of problem? I'm sure there is. Maybe the game's just designed to be real hard. But I felt like I didn't have the tools at my disposal to put up a better fight to make the game more enjoyable. Love the setting. The story was fine. You know, you're earning your immortality.
It's a classic story.
Exactly. I liked that the game just let you go and you had all these places you could go to. I liked that you found hints on the ground that said, you know, if you go here, then you know, you can get this, or this will be found at this location. Some of them were a little like puzzly or riddly. I liked all that. I just feel like if the game was remade, I think this is something you could remake with even just a slight moderate spin, make the screen bigger, give Hercules more moves. This could be a lot of fun. As it is right now, you should probably still check it out. I mean, especially if you've already got your GS2 emulator running, check this out. No question. But don't try to figure out a GS2 emulator to play this game, because it's just not that good.
I'd play them both if you're going to take the time to figure it
Oh,
out.
absolutely.
You know, but here's the thing about this game. It's a funny game because you really need to move. Someone mentioned it in chat, and I was thinking the same thing when he said it. There's a sort of sedan quality that's including the stiffness of your guy, the way he reacts.
Yeah.
You have to sort of master the controls. But the difference between this and that is you can sort of roll at your own pace as you go through it. This with Zeus screwing you repeatedly, like you can't sit still for more than a few seconds before Zeus drops the hammer on you and sends more crap after you, and it's tough. That makes the game tough. You have to always sort of press forward.
Yeah. And
Hercules is not. This game doesn't move at a rapid clip anyway. It's the exact opposite of the first level of your game. But this is one where you just have to basically, and maybe it's a little bit like the game we played, your game you came around on, where you have to sort of just master the controls of how stuff works and master where the hitboxes are at certain times. But I thought this was a pretty enjoyable game. I think there's a lot of fun to be had here.
I agree.
This is another one where you haven't, no one really, I've never heard anybody talk about this before. I'd never seen it before I saw it in that little video. And like you said, the setting is cool. I would like to get to the later reaches of this because there are areas you can't get to at the beginning of the game, and I never got far enough. When it comes to the end bosses, one of the reasons you go out there and just get murdered is because you take a beating and it's just getting to the end of the level.
Yes.
I will say the health refills, you sort of need to memorize what level you can get them on, because you can't get them everywhere unless Zeus decides to give you a break.
Gives you a random one, right?
You know, and it's not going to happen all that often. But I think this is kind of a winner. If you want the truth, again, you'll have to go hunting for any information aside from what you heard from me, because I couldn't find anything, and I looked all over, and the documents are just, it's like a 2-sheet thing. It's real chintzy. I didn't see any reviews of this anywhere, and I checked on eBay, and I couldn't see any for sale or any notion that this had ever been for sale on eBay. And I've never, also, you may have noticed from, if you're watching, I could not find a box for this.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and no one had a box pictured. I'd love to see what the box looked like. I'm assuming it came in a box. I mean, in 93, you would think that it came in a box, which, by the way, this was released after.
Way late.
This was released after that the Apple IIGS had stopped production. So this was late in the game.
This had to have been one of the last games made.
Something tells me that Westwood was just trying to salvage something out of this game. It's odd that it was so late in the game, but that's what's listed as the release date on. I was surprised that it was released that late, but that's the way it is. An interesting game. I thought it was an intriguing game.
It was okay.
I thought both these games were sort of neat, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And I'm having looked at other games for the Apple IIGS, like I said, coming from the Amiga background, I saw many of my favorites, including Sort of Sudan, which I mentioned, including Out of This World, and a real ripping version of Zany Golf, which apparently is one of the top games on the system.
Yeah,
you know,
I heard that as well.
With good music and stuff. And so I think if you take the time to sit down and emulate the 2GS, you may be surprised. I should mention that the library for the 2GS is readily available on archive.org. I had no problems getting in software. And it's quite an elaborate collection of it. So if you took the time to fool with it and understand how it works, I think you might dig it. It's certainly one that we'll come back to in the future now that we've figured it out. Now, with all that said, you know what time it is. It's the time that everyone craves. Let's get the wheel going.
Oh,
you get the wheel. All right, tell them what we got going on this time around, Brent.
We added.
Right on the
laptop. We added chat choice to the wheel. We love our chat. And our retro rewind. Okay, chat's okay. Our retro rewind is the Neo Geo.
Neo Geo. Oh, okay.
MVS system.
All right, man. So let me help you out there with that. I'll give it a little hold here.
The wheel is kind of wanting to float.
Give it some trouble here. Let's see what we do here.
Come on, Burger Games! Burger Games!
I like the GS. We need more like that. That was fun.
All right. Oh, we barely missed the old chatty choice.
And what do we got?
We have time-traveling games. Pajaco 6502.
Games about time travel, you say?
Time-traveling games.
That might be a lot of fun. Are we going to put any limitations on that, or are we just going to go for it?
What limitations is there in time traveling?
I mean, like certain systems, certain time periods. I can't believe we have never done that. That's stunning to me. That must have been on the wheel for a long time.
Nope.
Time traveling games. Well, by God, we'll do it. Listen, speaking of the wheel, we are out of pie pieces.
Pieces.
Pie, wheel, whatever. So now is the time. Listen, I know you think to yourself, oh, the people at ARG, they're flooded with emails with all the finest pieces, but I'm telling you, we can fit you in. Please submit any piece ideas to argpresents@mail.com, or if you will go to our ARG Presents section on the Amigos Discord and suggest them there, you'll be fully credited. Your name called out.
No promises.
No, every time. You just said Pajaco's name, you knucklehead.
I often forget.
Listen, ignore him. You'll be called out for your brilliance. We're looking for some systems we haven't covered. And you guys have come through with some real good stuff. We're far beyond our ability to produce our own content.
What are you talking about?
We need you to come up with it. Yeah, you're dud. Sank the show.
Double dud. Back to back.
Man, I'm telling you. The last thing we want you to be making up more pie pieces.
We have one other order of business we got to get to.
Do we?
We had a little contest going to see who could put up the highest score in the game we're in for the old ZX Spectrum.
Yeah.
That name again, Aaron?
What name? Shez Maxim.
There it is.
I'm trying happy. Shez Maxim.
And Z9 K9 walked away with this one.
He broke it.
He
broke the game.
He did find a loop system in the game where he could basically play indefinitely and put up a massive score. So Z9, be sure to check your private messages later this week, and we will have you a little gift certificate to the old Retro Rewind.
Well done. Well done. I had a feeling after I saw him jumping on it early, he'd be killing it, and killing he did. You know, I guess, Brent, while we're thinking about it, we've also got an event coming up here. Coming up in June. It's a little thing involving our buddy the Boat and us. It's the old Boat Fest. The old Boat Fest. We're tagging
Boat
along.
Fest and others.
Featuring Brent and Aaron. What do you think about the Boat Fest, Brent? You want to give the people your honest opinion on Boat Fest? Is it going to be any good?
It's going to be an absolute disaster. But you want to be there for it, right?
No, it's going to be awesome.
No, it's going to be good.
It's going to be June 24th and
I'm going to be there. It's got to be
25th, 2022, just in case you're listening to this sometime in the future. It'll be
time traveling games.
Friday, June 24th, starting at 4, and then Saturday, June 25th, starting early. I think 9 or 10, somewhere in there. You can go over and get all the info at boatfest.info, I believe is the web page, and you can get your tickets now, cheap tickets. Join us in the center of Retro Gaming Universe in West Virginia. That'd be the Holiday Inn Express, Tays Valley exit, just a piece down the street from us, about an 8-minute drive from here. That's gonna be great too. Just drive over to the con, chill. We're gonna do shows, we're gonna do a ton of shows over there. We got a lot of content. There's gonna be contests. I think Boat's saying there's gonna be over 30 retro gaming and console and computer systems.
Basically, if you're not going to Boat Fest, you're garbage. You're human garbage.
Oh man, that's a huge worldwide burial.
Unless you have,
I'm sure that should be on the poster. You're not here, you're garbage, says the Brent. That'll get us over. Thanks, Brent. You've done it again.
Actually, we're gonna have a sister event taking place for those who can't make it.
Yeah.
We're gonna have our own stream of the event. Plus, we're gonna have some side events across the pond.
It's part of the event. It's not a sister event. Thank God you never did mods for the war effort. We'd all be speaking another language right now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Dipstick.
Send these people home, Aaron.
Thanks for turning out, everybody. We'll be back next week for time traveling games. Until next time, have yourself an apple. Adios.
Thanks for joining us today. We really hope you enjoyed the show. A special thank you to Duncan Styles for our vector style graphics and Bart Pitt for his amazing music. Would you like to help keep ARG spinning? You can do so at patreon.com/ARG Presents. Just like these fine folks. Rolo, Olaf Hope, Terry Howard, John Schaller, The Slow Norris, Frodo NL, Chris Folds, Mitsuyama, Jason Warnes, Rob Flack O'Hara, Andy Craig, Andy Jones, Kevin Bean, Pachaco 6502, Bitter Blitter, Anthony Jarvis, Steve Rasmussen, Bernhardt Lucas, Dave Velociraptor, Graham W. Vetke, Roshi, Mr. B, David Terrett, Super Tech Boy, Oram, Sundown, Texas Foosballer, Air Shack, Retro Algae, John Dykeman, Jerry Dennington, Z9K9, Templar Mar, On Collective, and Laurent Garou. They all have access to the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord channel, their name displayed and called out in the credits, and that warm, fuzzy feeling that they help keep ARG spinning. And you can too! Have an idea for a wheel piece? Send it to us at argpresents@mail.com. Did you know? BoatFest 2022 is a go, the retro computing festival put on by the Amigos Retro Gaming Network. You can find out more at boatfest.info. We film live every Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And you can watch the replays on YouTube every Wednesday. Hope to see you there.